Cole, and I'm the athletic director for the Talawanda School District. Thank you for being here this evening to celebrate with the accomplishments of these individuals and also team. I'm honored to be here tonight with all of you to celebrate these inductees that are now a part of the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame. This is my 4th year as the athletic director for Talawanda, but I've been in the Talawanda schools as a teacher and a coach over the last 16 years. So I've been able to see some of the great teams and individuals that have played while I was at Talawanda. I think the Talawanda community is very unique, which is comprised of great students, great athletes, great parents, great community members, and great alumni that make this school district, I believe, one of the best around. For events like this, there are a lot of people that need thanks because there's a lot that goes into a Hall of Fame ceremony, banquet, meal, and then also tomorrow night at the football game. So I want to take a second to thank all the volunteers that work behind the scenes to make tonight happen. These people make this run so smoothly and also make it a lot easier on myself. So I would like to start off thanking the Talawanda Hall of Fame committee for their hard work, time, and energy to make this happen. This is a year-round commitment that these individuals make. It's not just something that they sit around once or twice. They are doing things year-round to make it the best possible thing for our inductees. If you happen to know someone that you would like to nominate for the Athletic Hall of Fame, in your programs, I believe it's page 2 or 3, there is a nomination form, and you can leave that here before you go. If you want to take it home, gather some statistics, things like that, you can always send that in to the athletic office at Talawanda. So we're always looking for new names of nominees for the Hall of Fame. Two groups that we would love to thank, and again, tonight would not happen without our event sponsors. Our 2 event sponsors for this evening are Stewart Square and also the Apple Tree. So thank you very much to those 2 generous donors. We also would like to thank our table and our inductee sponsors. Those were listed in the cafeteria on the table. So again, we want to thank all of them that their names were listed, and again, things like this happen because of those generous individuals and also groups and community businesses. We'd also like to thank Dan Zimmerman. He put together the Hall of Fame slideshow that you saw in the cafeteria. He's taken pictures. He's, if you weren't able to find pictures, he's gotten into yearbooks and scanned images, and he does an outstanding job each year for us. So I want to thank Dan Zimmerman for putting that together. Also thanks to Andy Zimmerman, Dan's son, with help with this ceremony tonight. He gets the Performing Arts Center set up and ready to go for our ceremonies. Also, tonight they are live streaming the Hall of Fame event. So again, thank you to the students that are also here tonight with us to make this, again, a special evening. Also would like to thank one of our teachers, Sharon Gregory, her students in the FCCLA who served in the cafeteria this evening. Thank you again for volunteering your time and for helping our Hall of Fame committee with cleanup, setup, and those items. So thank you to those students. Also, we'd like to have a special thanks to Bob Smith, who donated our programs that you've all received here this evening. Donated those to us. He's done that for a number of years, so we want to thank Bob Smith once again for his generous donation. Also like to thank an individual. There's a couple ladies I'd like to thank, and the first one is Denise Zimmerman. Her tireless work over the years with the Hall of Fame committee is outstanding. She's in our office, which the next lady is Ann Hoskins. Those 2 are talking all the time about the Hall of Fame, how to set things up, what questions they've got, and they do a tremendous job. Ann does a nice job with the Hall of Fame, but also just helps me out as whatever we need in the athletic office. She's there. She does it. Really want to thank Ann for all of her hard work and everything she does and the support that she gets. And she's probably my son's favorite teacher here, so she might get a kick out of that. He loves to come see his Ann. So, and now at this time, I would like to recognize the members of the Hall of Fame that are here with us this evening. And I'm going to call your name, and if you just want to stand up and give us a wave, and we'll recognize you being here this evening. Okay, we'll start out. We've got Mr. Bill Bowers. We have Gene Marks. Glenn Duke Winkler. Susie Wills Eversole. Dave Butcher. Bill Thomas. Stu Eversole. Joe Pyfrin. Kate Thomas. Kim Winkler. Carol Hartman. Irma Purcell is representing Bob Purcell. Dan Purcell. Michelle Schwegman. Kyle Johnson. Joe Rogers. Joyce Eaton-Lyer. Jason Lindsay. Co Potter. Tom Holmes. Dan Zimmerman. Gerald and Pam Norris. Chuck Jones. Dan Wilhelm. Jim Martino. Melford Edwards. Dale Plank. If I missed anyone at this time, I've got some really good name takers out in the hallway, but if we may have missed someone, so if we did, I apologize. I think it went pretty well for that, so very good. Thank you. You know, at this time, I love this event. It's an awesome event for Talawanda, for community members to come back, and we're now ready to get started. So at this time, I would like to have the Master of Ceremonies and also the Voice of the Braves, Mr. Joe Pyfrin, come to the microphone to get the ceremony started. Thank you.
I told him earlier that he looked dapper. I like that outfit. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the annual induction ceremony of the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame. I'm indeed honored and proud to be a part of this recognition program. A big thanks once again to all the organizers and the Hall of Fame committee. I think Wes thanked a whole lot of people, but Wes, did you leave? Where is he? Right there. Come forward a little bit, guy. This gentleman spends a tremendous amount of time, and we get a tremendous amount of support from this athletic director who is doing a super job, and the committee and a lot of people would like to thank you. Wes Cole. He said he'd give me his shoes. Someone said earlier, I think Tom York invited all of you, friends, neighbors, and what have you, not only to the football game tomorrow night, which is a Hall of Fame recognition also for you all. I hope that you're able to be there. But it's also a special recognition for someone who most of you, I think, in here know, Marvin Wilhelm. It'll be known as the area on the side here, in the back, in the baseball fields, and the football fields, and the track, and the softball fields, and every field will be known as the Marvin Wilhelm Athletic Complex. There are hundreds of people to thank for allowing that to become real. But one person who I want to make sure that you all know, every movement, every organization, everything like this has to have leadership, a leader. And the person that took it upon himself months and months and months ago to arrange, to work through, to help, and to bring it to fruition is Tom York. Tom, I want you to stand up and be recognized. Tom York and Molly Mers and Chris Roden are the administrative team here at Talawanda. Beautiful facilities. I listened to some of these folks up here tonight say, my gosh, I wish we had something like this. Well, I'm just glad we've got something like this today. And you three individuals do a super job. I've known every administrator, Talawanda High School, have worked with, most of the time worked with, or worked around, and you three individuals are definitely a blessing for all the children that go to school here. Your commitment to children, to young men and to young ladies is outstanding. I thank you from this community, from this committee, and for the people here. Tonight we recognize the 20th class of the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame. This evening we induct 6 individuals and 1 entire team whose skills, abilities, and contributions have helped develop, enhance, and add to the traditions exemplified in Talawanda athletics. I want to take a brief moment to thank my high school sweetheart, yes, and my wife of 51 years for helping me with the bios and the production and where to put the commas. Angela, thank you again. I promised her tonight there'd be no stories, no jokes, and she would not get mad at me. She wouldn't have cause to get mad at me. And Tom York blew that. I said all those nice things about you, but Tom came over to the table where my wife and I were eating, and he said something to the effect. He said, you know, you have been married for so long. How many happy years have you been married? And I sat there quietly, trying to remember. If he wouldn't have said happy, everything would have been fine. But I paused a little bit. My wife said, you know, why don't you tell him? And all I could think of was an old, I don't know who gave the line, but it was, don't hurry me, I'm thinking. But it's been 51 years altogether, okay? I was also asked to remind the inductees, especially CD, to limit your remarks to less than 45 minutes. I'm sorry, 4 to 5 minutes. 4 to 5 minutes, okay? And before we begin to recognize the inductees this evening, I'd like for 2 individuals, Joel and Melissa, please come forward and stand up here. Do, 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 Right here. The Hall of Fame Committee would like to share our thanks to two individuals whose generous contributions and total unselfish support has been a blessing not only to the Hall of Fame, but also to this entire athletic and educational community. Melissa and Joel Engelhardt, both Talawanda grads and proud parents of Nick, Tyler, and Kevin, exemplify the qualities and character that comprise the support and success of this family we call Talawanda. Many of us here this evening are familiar with the words, "We will always be true to the red, white, and blue." And you too, by your words and by your actions, have been true. And all of us here, especially the committee, thank you. Thank you both.
I want to be way less than 4 or 5 minutes. I'm very appreciative to be part of Talawanda and everything that I'm allowed to do with you guys. And now I'm allowed to go clean up your guys' meal. So if you'll excuse me, I thank you very much for this award.
Joel and Melissa have dedicated part of their business at La Rosa's. An entire section is the Talawanda room. They have trophies, pictures. They had my picture in there. But they said there were a lot of complaints. People couldn't eat, and look at that. God bless you. Our first inductee this evening is a 1986 graduate of Talawanda High School. This outstanding athlete earned 9 varsity letters participating in 3 sports. Charles David Butcher, to some, but mostly and simply CD. He provided for all brave athletes an example of hard work, leadership, and a commitment to athletic excellence. CD was an integral part of 5 Talawanda High School championship teams. In basketball, he helped the Braves to 2 Mid-Miami League titles. In track, helped lead the Braves to 1 Mid-Miami League title, and CD was an instrumental person on the cross-country team in achieving 2 Mid-Miami League championships. After high school, CD went on to attain his BS in education at Miami University while coaching basketball for 3 years at Talawanda. After a stint of coaching and teaching in the Salt Lake City, CD returned to Ohio to become an outstanding teacher and coach in the Dublin City high schools. CD has accomplished the unprecedented achievement of taking his Dublin Jerome women's golf team to 5 straight Ohio State championships. He was recognized by the Ohio General Assembly for his, and I quote, tireless efforts, remarkable energy, enthusiasm, and dedication in guiding the team in this outstanding coaching accomplishment. He has earned the respect and admiration of all who know him. Today, CD and his wife, Dawn, live in the Dublin community with their 2 sons, Andrew and Austin. And tonight, the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame proudly recognizes CD Butcher for his commitment to athletic excellence and welcome him to join his dad as a member of the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame, Charles David Butcher.
Sorry about that. Let's just get the elephant out of the room here real quick. Roseanne Julian, where are you at? Stand up, please. Stand up, Roseanne. Senior year, Roseanne had Shelly and I in speech class. So there's a lot of pressure up here right now, right? So The unfortunate news is she was really good and I wasn't. But I was better than that teacher's pet, Paul Diker. I've also been challenged by my father to see if I can beat his time. So 47 minutes, 26 seconds. Okay. First off, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee. I'm truly humbled to be included among some of the great people who I respect and I admire. Growing up in Oxford, having a deep connection with Talawanda High School makes it even greater. I'd like to congratulate the other inductees, the 1940-1941 Hanover basketball team, Scott Gibson, Bill Winkler, Sherry Clawson Corcoran, Joe Cox, who I was lucky enough to win an ML championship in track with. And last but not least, Shelly Simon, who I graduated with, who I had the pleasure of growing up with, going to school with, becoming friends, and a teammate of. Congratulations. Very honored to be up here with you. Okay. Anyways, there's no way I could thank everyone who has, kind of played a role for me being up here right now. I'm going to try. First, with my mom and dad. They taught me everything about family, to be confident in who I am, what I stand for. You guys are there every step of the way through good times and bad, a lot of bad. Wasn't the best student in high school. You've encouraged me, consoled me, and motivated me when I needed it most. Thanks for your lifetime of sacrifices. It's really not that bad being known as not CD or Charles, but Dave Butcher's son. That's how I kind of alluded to it in Oxford, Ohio. My wife, Dawn, of course, anyone in this room has ever coached at any level, knows the emotional effort and time that goes into running a program. None of my success could have happened without her making a lot of sacrifices and being there. In reality, without Dawn, I really don't know where I would be, so thank you, dear. Andrew and Austin, my two great kids who I'm proud of every day. Bennett, the older sister who is always there for me and had my back then and now. Becky, the little sister, with her heart of gold, always bends over backwards to help a brother out and made the trip this weekend to help me celebrate. Memories of growing up in the 70s and 80s pretty much define who I am, and I think a lot of people in here would feel the same way. Memories of McGuffey, Talawanda, Miami. I still hang out with dozens of my childhood friends. I'd still drive down certain streets and recall stories like it was yesterday. In my mind, I still see, the Water Tower, Bruno's, Withrow, the old high school, and my dad and Bill Bowers mowing grass. Wait, that was this morning? That was a stage joke, but true. All right. Also, looking out into the crowd, I see faces of people who I grew up with and who graduated from Talawanda, like Jim Clawson and Bob Champa, who let me work with them at CKC. I see Jay Daniel back there, getting ready to put his first book out. We've been friends for 45 years. The 1985 Braves backup punter, #1 in the program, #1 in your heart. I see Mark Miller back there, another childhood friend who I've gone through the wars with, patiently waiting for me to screw up on this speech. That's an inside joke. You don't need to know. Anyways, after high school, I did a lot of coaching. All right, and I was an assistant coach where the pressure really isn't that great. I was at the Talawanda Middle School with Kurt Rose. I coached the Talawanda 7th and 8th grade track team, the boys and girls track team at Union County with fellow Hall of Famer Chris Webb. I did the girls and boys varsity cross country here at Talawanda for a season. I coached basketball at Talawanda with Tom Holmes, John Meese, Brian Ruggles, and Bruce Hurst, which is still what I consider probably the most fun I've ever had coaching. Little side note on that team, who's not here, but Matt Diker, who I coached on that team, I'm coaching his daughter on my golf team in Dublin Jerome. That's my first father-daughter combo. I was at Mount Healthy with Big City Pat Vianchek, and then I went out to Utah and coached basketball. We had some pretty good teams. We had a McDonald's All-American, went to a Final Four, and we were ranked in the top 10 in USA Today as far as top high school basketball teams. So I've been around some really good players and good people, but better yet, good head coaches. Then we moved back to Ohio, and I worked at Dublin Kaufman in basketball with Jamie Collins and boys golf, where we finished 5th in the state of Ohio, where I was one of the assistants. But finally, in 2005, I think I kind of found my calling. I finally got a head coaching job, and that was 14 years ago. But the first year I was an assistant coach, and we won the state tournament. That was in 2005, and we won by 31 strokes. And if anybody's ever been to the state tournament, everybody kind of congregates around the scoreboard, and we went up and got our medals, and there was one of our players and another parent just screaming at each other, spitting and yelling, and it just kind of left a bad taste. We didn't have a party that night. The banquet was real tense. It just left kind of very anticlimactic. The next year I got the head coach, and I just kind of wanted, even though it was a great program, the climate kind of had to change, which brings us here tonight. How do you change a climate even in a winning program? You kind of draw back to your experiences, and I was lucky enough to be influenced by coaches, athletes, and teachers from what I consider to be Talawanda's greatest generation, the 70s and 80s. I had influential leaders like Marvin Wilhelm was our principal, Joe Pyfrin, Chuck Jones. My dad was the athletic director, kind of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And interpret that how you will. I was influenced by some of the greatest basketball coaches that have gone through in Oxford and Talawanda. My freshman year, I had Dan Purcell and John Priest and Glenn Stacy. And Dan taught me that you can kind of be a hard ass but hide it behind sarcasm, just enough to scare the kids, but just so they still think you're cool. Sophomore year, I had Walt McCutcheon. I was part of the first 20-0 JV team, and Walt taught me to love life and the game. His love of competition was infectious. I mean, the list gets better. Junior and senior year, I had Steve Jameer and Tom Holmes. Steve taught me to be calm and have class on the sidelines. Tom Holmes has taught me more than just about anybody else, him and Coach Plank, but Tom Holmes taught me about the organization and the importance of the use of sports psychology before it was in vogue, and I still use some of his little mind tricks even to this day with the girls. I was influenced by Talawanda's cross-country and track coaches with Dale Plank and Chuck Jones, and one year we had Linda Davidson. Chuck Jones taught me how to push myself to the brink, and Coach Plank taught me to treat every athlete like they were the most important person on the team. He taught us that you could win together. Cross-country, I think, is kind of like golf, where it should be treated as a team sport, not an individual sport. I think a lot of people think it as an individual sport, but Dale stressed for us to work for our teammates, and everybody has everybody's back, and I think that's really why we succeeded and have lifetime relationships. My teammates in basketball, wow, how lucky I was. I had the Hall of Famer Dan Priest and Paul Diker and Chris Bourne, Bill Thomas, who's here today, and a fellow Hall of Famer. I had Kurt Rose and Mark Boggs, and you might as well throw Randall Dickerson in there, the half-court specialist. But my teammates in cross-country and track, and I can honestly say that probably no other team in history probably did more stupid things than our cross-country teams without getting caught. Streaking through the freshman orientation with President Pearson was not one of them, as far as you know, Mom. One more reason Coach Plank was a saint. All right, but runners like Chris Webb and Mike Osborne and Mark and Tom Walla, Rob Van Winkle, Tim Wickham, Rod Zodi, Mark Boggs, the girls team with Shelly Simon, who's up here right now, a Hall of Famer, Michelle Barrett, Karen Rail, Michelle Schwegman, Ruth Sherman, all Hall of Famers, was really a treat, all right, and has affected me up till now. We had other athletes, Dan Purcell, other basketball players, Dan Purcell, Steve Mitten, Chris Elzey, Craig Rose, Stan Zodi, even as far as Dave Clay, Kate Thomas, Lee Hart. I was lucky enough to see them play as a young kid, and the older they were kind of my idols, probably still are. They kind of took us kids under their wings and taught us how to play. I remember sitting, I have two vivid memories from high school. One is sitting in 8th grade in the top row at the old Talawanda High School, and Chris Elzey hit a turnaround jump shot to win the game versus Monroe. And, it was right there. The crowd went crazy. And it was kind of like right there. I wanted to play varsity for Steve Jameer. I guess side note, the other most vivid memory is in high school, and Bill Thomas took a charge over Steve Isle at Baden. That was a thing of beauty. if anybody should be inducted into the Hall of Fame a second time, it would probably be just for that play. What an athlete. Other coaches that, I've had just basic luck to be around. Mel Edwards was coaching football at the time. Mark Julian was coaching football at the time. Bill Bowers was coaching golf. Janet Sturgeon was coaching field hockey. Kathy Gordon was coaching basketball. And the teachers like Mr. Heinlein and Mr. Richardson. Obviously, Mr. and Mrs. Zimmerman, Mrs. McCutcheon, Mrs. Julian. It's been a pretty good ride. The last people who I think influenced me in high school, which I drew when I got the head coaching job, is parents, to get the parent involvement. When we grew up, the parents' houses were little oases, places that we went to go to dinner. Edie Genther, the Dykers, the priests, Doc and Dolly Thomas, Patty Daniel, the Serenos, the Wallas, and the list goes on and on. So I really worked hard to get the golf team's parents involved. I've had some great parents. Matt Toth, who's not here, who's probably my biggest supporter that I've ever had, has kind of spearheaded, parents being involved with the program. But anyways, I'm going kind of fast, but so I think, Dad, you're going to win, which is a bummer. But I could not have had such a successful coaching career if I had not worked with these special caliber of family, friends, coaches, teammates, teachers, and administrators who care so much about what they do. Many who I'm lucky enough to call my friends. Golfers and athletes that I've had, hundreds of athletes I've coached, thank you for making me who I am. And, of course, I thank you too. Go Braves.
I was so glad to see Bill Thomas out there. Bill, after last year, I didn't think you'd ever come back. I told one little story, and our next inductee is a 1978 graduate of Talawanda High School, Sherry Clawson Corcoran. Achieved outstanding success in 4 sports and earned 10 varsity letters. A 1-year participant in track and a 3-year varsity starter in field hockey provided Sherry the opportunities to succeed as an outstanding athlete, but she is best remembered for her accomplishments in basketball and softball. In basketball, Sherry was a 3-year varsity starter. She was the instrumental player her junior season, leading the Braves to a Mid-Miami League championship. She led the team in rebounds both her junior and senior seasons. In the history of girls basketball at Talawanda High School, Sherry continues to hold the school record for rebounds in a single game. Sherry was also recognized Most Improved Player and received the Coaches Award. She was honorable mention in the MML and was named second team All-Mid-Miami League her senior year. In softball, Sherry was also a 3-year varsity starter. She earned recognition both her junior and senior seasons, being named Best Defensive Player. Sherry was also recognized her senior season by being named Senior Honor Athlete and received the Senior Sportsmanship Award. After graduation, Sherry continued her athletic success, playing softball in Butler County and in national tournaments. In 1984, Sherry helped gain a national championship and was named to the All-National Championship team. Today, Sherry and her husband John live in Oxford with their 3 sons, Lindsay, John, and Derek. And tonight, we welcome Sherry Clawson Corcoran into the 2018 class of the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame.
All right, everybody that knows me knows I hate to speak in front of people, but I'm going to try here. First of all, I'd like to thank the nominating committee, especially Dan Purcell, Dan Wilhelm, and Mr. Butcher, and Dan Purcell, for for the honor of being picked to the Hall of Fame. I had the best 4 years of high school that anybody could ask for, enjoyed every sport I played. I also want to thank my friends and family for being here. And I wrote everybody's name down on the back here. Cindy Clawson, my sister, and Jordan, her daughter, Stacy and Dan Purcell, my son Derek, Izzy, Josh, Jake, Justin, Jarrett were all my nephews, Amy, my sister-in-law, Rhonda Markham, David Westpizer, Bob Champa, Della Rumpler, Pam, and Mike Lindley. I really appreciate it. I've got more on Jim. I wouldn't be who I am without them, starting with my parents. My dad taught me the love of sports and competition. I'm sorry he isn't here to see this. I know how proud he would have been. He was my first softball coach and my biggest fan. My mom, who taught me to work hard, she taught me to work hard through example. She's the hardest working person that I've ever met. My brother taught me to be tough. Funny story, he always pestered me all the way through growing up, and one time I got really fed up, and I was just a little girl, and I took a rock and hit him in the eye, and I never told on him because I knew he'd get in trouble with my dad, but he ran and told my mom about that I hit a rock in his eye. The sports have shaped my life. I probably wouldn't have been married to my husband, John. He taught softball at Miami, and after the first day of class, he asked me if I needed help after class. So, definitely, sports have changed my life. I enjoyed watching my children play at Talawanda. Lindsay played volleyball and basketball and softball. My sons, JT and Derek, played baseball and football. And John and I loved every second of watching them here at Talawanda. I also wanted to thank all the coaches that gave me so much of their time and taught me so much. It all started with Miss Meeker and Kramer. Some of the other coaches I had were Mrs. Lonis, Mr. Butcher, Denise Zimmerman. I went through my freshman yearbook and found out I forgot that she was my softball coach in my freshman year. And then Dan Wilhelm after I graduated. I was also the AD assistant for Mr. Butcher and Mr. Garlow, who I had the biggest crush on. So thanks again. I just had my 40th class reunion last month, and I have to say that I am very, very proud that I graduated from Talawanda. I couldn't believe how many successful people were in my class. That should say a lot about the teachers and the coaches here. And I wrote down some of the memories that I had. It's been a long time, 40 years, so. Some of the memories that I had were going to the football games and then heading up to Tony's or Bruno's Pizza. Driving uptown in the back of a pickup truck with Linda Martin, Mike Rudolph, Doug Ross, to name a few, and sing the fight song as loud as we could in the back of the pickup truck. I'm sure that it annoyed a lot of the college students. Making floats at the homecoming parade, and every time it rained in practice, we'd run the hallways, and we'd run and run and run, or we'd go around the gym 100 times. So those are some of my memories. I also had the best 4 years of my life. So thanks again for the honor. Thank you.
To do what? Where is Joseph the Fifth? Wave your hand, Joseph the Fifth. Right there. You listen up, young man, to how outstanding your dad is. and was. This next inductee is a 1988 graduate of Talawanda High School. He's been described by his former coaches and colleagues as dedicated, determined, and driven. Joseph L. Cox IV was an outstanding four-sport athlete who excelled in football, basketball, cross country, and track and field. Joe was a model student athlete both in the classrooms and on the fields and floors of competition. While lettering in 4 different sports, Joe is best remembered for his outstanding accomplishments in track and field. In 1987, Joe finished second in the MML 100 high hurdles and first in the Mid-Miami League 300 hurdles. Joe continues to hold the Talawanda High School record in the 110 high hurdles, the 300 hurdles, and the 4x100 relay. This honors graduate received the DAR Citizenship Award with appointments to both the United States Naval Academy and the United States Military Academy. While at Annapolis, Joe continued his athletic career, participating in basketball and football and setting Naval Academy records in track and field. In 1991, Joe was named Most Outstanding Athlete of the Year at the Academy. He received his BS degree and was recognized with the 67th Point of Light Award from President George Bush Sr. for services in the creation of the Banneker tutorial program at the Naval Academy. He went on to earn the rank of Lieutenant Commander, receiving 12 military awards, including 3 Naval Commendation Awards. Today, Joe and his bride Jody reside in Gainesville, Florida, with the 3 children, Jalen, JC, and Joseph V. And tonight, Joe, we thank you for your service. We recognize you for your athletic accomplishments, and we proudly welcome you into the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame. Joseph L. Cox IV.
So, thank you. This has been a walk down memory lane for me. I have seen a whole lot of people that I have not seen in a number of years. I'm going to acknowledge a few. Please don't take offense if I don't mention your name. I was given not 45 minutes like my friend CD, but 4 to 5 minutes. So, obviously, it's not only an honor, but it's my absolute pleasure being here. Before I convey a message, which will hopefully be contained to 3 or 4 minutes, I'm cutting it down every second, I'd like to personally thank Talawanda School District and the Selection Committee for not only considering, but furthermore, and most importantly, nominating me for this distinguished honor. It was last year, Coach Plank reached out to me. We had a conversation. And then most recently, Joe Wilhelm and Mr. Pyfrin gave me a call a couple of months ago. We started talking, and this is the culmination of that. I'd definitely like to congratulate my other inductees in the 2018 class. Each of our stories are most likely radically different, but the unique power of this community brings us together here tonight. For those of you who know me personally, I am one that does my best and attempts to leave my mark. I enjoy making deposits, definitely into my bank account, but more gratifying to me are the personal deposits I can make with the people I engage with. So here's a small deposit for you. You often can't win unless you'd rather die than lose. It's a quote that was pulled from a book that Mrs. Elsie, who's here tonight, gave me over 30 years ago. A quote that I've used not only throughout my academic, athletic careers and my professional careers, but it's a quote that's inscribed on the inside of my Naval Academy ring. Very simple words put together in such a fashion profoundly resonated with a young black kid from Oxford, Ohio. Give it your all if you really want to win. I wanted to share that quote this evening because those words have proven to be somewhat of a beacon to me, somewhat of my North Star, little nautical term for those Navy fans out there. When things start getting tough and winning is in jeopardy, it's something I always turn to. I've come to learn that successful organizations and corporations and even people do not always appreciate mediocrity. I could stand here and speak for a very, very long time about the risks I've taken throughout my athletic career and my business career and the opportunities that I've seized. Yet I want to take the remaining time, just a couple more minutes, to honor and recognize the women and men who have helped me thus far in my journey. And those are the individuals, in my opinion, who have not settled for mediocrity. So, Coach Jones and Coach Plank, thank you for having the faith in my athletic ability as a freshman to participate on the varsity team, donning my orange safety skull cap, polyester short shorts, a tank top. Oh yes, I thought I was a freshman fashionista. Let us all remember, as we ponder that crazy outfit, this was well before the revolutionary lightweight Under Armour, Nike Dry Fit, moisture-wicking, breathable, cotton-charged materials of today. We had heavy, uncharged cotton, I think, infused with polyester, possibly military-grade wool jock straps. Mrs. Elsie, thank you for initiating a passion for words and literature with me. My highest grade at the Naval Academy was in English. Don't ask what that grade was. It was my highest. To Mr. Wilhelm, who I'm not sure if he is here this evening, I know we've mentioned him tonight and he's going to be honored tomorrow, but he was truly one of the best principals, one of the best administrative leaders I have seen throughout my career academically and professionally. A little well-known fact, he also provided me my first job over 36 years ago. Conversation for tomorrow, maybe. I want to thank Mr. Edwards and Mr. Hunter, who I don't believe is here tonight, for being great examples to me of black males in this awesome community of Oxford. Outside of my own family, those were two guys I really, really looked up to consistently, and still do. I'd like to thank my wife, Jody, my son, Joe Jr., the fifth, as you've heard before, for being here to celebrate this honor with me. I love you both dearly, and thank you for making the time to be a part of this. Side note, yes, I have two other daughters, Jalen and JC, not able to attend partially due to their unwavering, often disruptive, passion for academic success. Lastly, and most importantly, I want to acknowledge and thank my parents, Mom, who's here tonight, Dad, who is watching from above, for placing me in what I believe is one of the most unique communities I've seen throughout all my travels. 6 of the 7 continents. I've seen a lot. This community does something very, very special. And it's hard to describe, but if you're here tonight, you're a part of it. It's absolutely something special. So I want to close with this. As we are in what I believe and deem as confusing and troubled times, attempting to navigate in an environment with lackluster and less than knowledgeable leadership, I implore all of us to turn and rely upon our North Star, which C.D. referenced earlier: friends, family, community, winners who refuse to settle for mediocrity. Thank you.
Just going to draw a little mustache.
That's why I had to get it away from you.
Our next inductee is a 1969 graduate of Talawanda High School, Scott Gibson, earned 12 varsity letters, participating in football, basketball, and golf. He holds the distinction in Talawanda athletics of being named All-League First Team in all 3 sports. This honor student and athlete athletic standout truly exemplifies the character and the qualities of a Hall of Famer. In golf, Scott was an integral part of the team for 4 seasons. During his junior and senior years, Scott was named #1 player. In his senior year in golf, the Talawanda team never lost a single match, and Scott was named All-MML second team. In basketball, Scott was a 2-year varsity player who started every game his junior and senior year. He was selected first team All-Mid-Miami League defense and second team All-League offense. His senior season, he also led the team in free throw percentages and rebounds. In football, Scott was a 3-year varsity starter as a defensive back his junior and sophomore seasons and as quarterback his senior year. Scott continues to be listed as one of the best quarterbacks in Talawanda football history. His standings include 6th in single-season passing yards, 2nd in season completion percentage, 3rd in single-game passing yardage, 6th in single-game completions, 8th in single-game touchdown passes, and finally 2nd in career pass completions. As a result, Scott was named First Team All-MML, All-District First Team, All-State Honorable Mention, Ohio High School Athletic Association All-State Performer, and a full 4-year football athletic scholarship to Western Kentucky University. At Kentucky Western, Scott earned 3 letters, playing fullback and tight end. Scott returned to Oxford and earned both his bachelor's and master's degree at Miami University. Today, Scott and his wife, Pam, reside in Garland, Texas, and share their stories of pride with their children, Scott Jr., Ryan, and Caitlin. Tonight, Talawanda is proud to welcome Scott Gibson into the 2018 Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame. Scott Gibson.
So how many of you were here last year? Raise your hand. Have you ever gone to Hamilton and found Jolie's? I was late tonight because Joe Pyfrin talked about where he took his wife for, I think, your anniversary in last year's Jolie's. I looked all over Hamilton today, had my cell phone plugged in and couldn't find it. So I apologize for being late. Jolly, but it's really called Jolly's. And all those records in football is because back then we played with a Nerf football. So good evening. It's great to be here. What a wonderful facility. This is my first time in the new high school. It sure is a lot better than 131 Chestnut Street. And no longer does that high school have a big 69 painted on the side that I had to scrub off that summer. So I'm glad they tore it down. But honestly, it was 4 of the best years of my life, and I've heard all the inductees talk fondly of Talawanda. I'd like to thank the induction committee for this great honor. I have a lot of fond memories of Talawanda, both athletically and academically, although Coach Martino, who was my freshman basketball coach, I really sucked at chemistry, and I apologize. But you hung with me. So I'd like to congratulate my fellow inductees. I know you're as grateful for this award as I am. And I also want to thank each and every teammate that I had in football, basketball, and golf, because as a team, you can't succeed by yourself. You've got to have your teammates. And these were very special individuals, and I'll mention some of them in a moment. And And also, finally, I want to thank the coaches, and I'll mention some of them as well. Football coaches, basketball coaches, golf coach in particular, who influenced me. And as I went through my work career, I held a lot of leadership positions, and it was these folks that taught me how to be a leader, and it came right from Talawanda High School's coaching staff. So tonight, really, I feel like one of the luckiest persons in the world, and any success I've had along the way in my career or in life have been to a great degree because of the coaches that I interacted with and the teammates that we, blood, sweat, and teared together over the 4 years that I was at Talawanda. But before I talk about those individuals, let me talk a little bit about my family. Joe mentioned my wife, Pam. We've been married for 44 years. We just moved from Texas to Fort Lauderdale, Florida last month. Always wanted to go to Florida when I retired. My parents used to take my brother Todd and my brother Randy and I to Fort Lauderdale, and I said, by God, when I retire, I'm going to live in Fort Lauderdale. And she's down there trying to find a place to live, so when I go back, she'll probably have spent all the money. But I want to mention my 3 kids again. Scott Jr., he's a high school teacher and a basketball coach in Muscat, Oman, in the Middle East, teaching at American International School. My son Ryan, a graphics designer in New York City, and my daughter Caitlin, a registered nurse at Sloan Kettering Memorial Cancer Hospital in New York City. The lessons that you learn in sports, and we all hear about that playing sports teaches you life lessons. Honest to God, Talawanda and my collegiate career absolutely taught me how to be a much better husband than I ever would have been without playing sports, and a much better father had I not played sports. And I mean that sincerely. The broader family, most of you probably know my father Wayne and my mother Phyllis. They were very, very, very supportive of me when I was at Talawanda. As maybe some of you know, my dad was a high school football coach. He coached at Miami, and unfortunately for me, he coached quarterbacks and running backs. And I played 1 year quarterback here at Talawanda. And he was very short on praise, but he was long on, you can do better, you can do better, you can do better. He never really pumped me up. He just kind of kept me level. But the one thing I give him credit for, he let the Talawanda coaching staff do the coaching, as opposed to some of these helicopter parents that you've read about in the news over the years that are right there, trying to tell the high school or college coach that their son or daughter should be playing and should be first team. I would like to share a quick story about my dad when I was in high school. For those of you that know him, he was a very strict disciplinarian. He wanted his 3 sons to toe the line, and for the most part, we towed the line and stayed out of trouble, except one night for me. My senior year, homecoming week, I was with my classmates building the senior float out at 732 and Stillwell Beckett in a barn that still stands to this day. And a couple of my classmates, who I won't mention their name to protect their innocence, I don't think any of them are in this room anyway, we thought we had some rotten eggs, and we thought we'd go attack the junior float just down the road and throw eggs on their float. So we did that. We went down there, and somebody must have made of course before cell phones, somebody must have ran to the neighbor next door where they were building their float and had somebody call the Oxford police. And those of you that have been around Oxford most of your life, you might remember Chief Joe Statham of the Oxford Police Department. So sirens blaring, lights flashing. Joe drives up while we're throwing the eggs, puts us in, 4 of us in the back of the car, takes us to jail, and that didn't scare me so much. What scared me was, he said, I'm going to call your parents, and Scott in particular, I'm going to call your dad to come pick you up. And I begged Joe for 30 minutes to keep me in jail all night. And he wouldn't let me. So Dad came and picked me up. Not a word was said in the car. The next day he said, he gave me a weed digger. He said, I want you to go dig every dandelion out of the yard. It took me 3 weekends to do it. And after the second day of the first weekend, I started just picking the tops off. And that didn't go over very well. But anyway, I survived to tell that story. As far as my mom's concerned, I figured it out on the airplane ride up here today. She prepared 157 pregame meals for basketball and football. She never missed. My dad a lot of times was on a recruiting trips and wasn't there. She never missed a game, and always, was always there for me. Also, my brother Todd, just stand up for 5 seconds. I want to pay some tribute to you because when we were growing up, he's 5 years younger. Him and I were very competitive, especially in golf and tennis and wiffle ball home run derby. But we always bet money, and I still owe him $173. But he used to kick my backside, and I broke so many rackets losing to him. But anyway, when I got to Talawanda and started having some success, he was the most supportive sibling and brother that anybody could have, and I want to give him some credit for that tonight. So enough about the family. Let me talk about coaches, teachers, and administrators at Talawanda. And I've got 4. I could name names forever when you spend 4 years at a high school, but there's 4 individuals that stand head and shoulders and above the others that I interacted with that really influenced my life going forward. Number 1, and this is no particular order, it's more chronological. Marvin Wilhelm was the head football coach at Talawanda when I was a freshman. I went to McGuffey. I was a hotshot athlete. I thought I was going to walk in and start my freshman year in football, basketball, whatever. And Coach Wilhelm taught me the respect of the game of football. But he did it in a very caring manner, and he treated all his players that way. It wasn't preferential treatment. But that has left a lifelong impression on me because he brought me back down to earth, and I was able to go forward with strength from that life lesson that Coach gave me during 2-a-days that very first freshman. I was a wet behind the ears 15-year-old, and he set me on a path. Bill Bowers, he was my head football coach after Marvin, and Coach Bowers taught me how to play quarterback the right way. His attention to detail and the subtleties of the game were immeasurable. I'm indebted to Coach Bowers because he, on his own volition, took game film, not tape, game film and sent it to Jimmy Fikes, the head football coach at Western Kentucky University, and I'm sure they had multiple conversations. And as Joe pointed out, I graduated and got offered a scholarship at Western Kentucky University, so I'm very, very indebted to Coach Bowers and my parents' checkbook. Thank you as well. So thank you very much, because that was a big honor to receive that. Sticking with the Bowers family, Lawrence Bowers. He was athletic director when I was here at Talawanda, but I had the pleasure of him being my golf coach for 3 years. And the good thing about Coach Bowers was, as long as you won, he didn't coach. But as soon as you lost, and we didn't lose that much, as soon as you lost, he said, on the bus ride home, especially, it seemed like we'd lose in away matches because it's a strange course. He would say, you need to get to the practice green, you need to get to the driving range, we've got to do better. But he was the sweetest, most caring man that I ever came in contact with at Talawanda from an administrator, teacher, and coach standpoint, and I'll never forget him. And then the last person, not last but not least, is John Trump, who was school district superintendent at the time. And although Coach Trump and I didn't have a close relationship, the story I want to tell you about Coach Trump was. My senior year, 68, opening game, Fairfield, at Fairfield. We were down 8-6 in the fourth quarter. We had a 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 2. We were down by 2. We were on the Fairfield's 40 or 30-yard line, driving for the score, and I called a quarterback keeper around right in and ended up about a foot short. And we had to punt, and Fairfield ran out the clock. The story that I want to share that left a lasting impression on me was that Coach Trump, and I was a high school kid, but I was a senior, but I really had nobody be as stern as John was with me. He got in my face in the locker room, and he said, if you would have lowered your head and drove your legs, you would have made the first down, and we probably would have won the game. And we didn't win that game, but from that point forward, that stuck in my mind. Any success that I had as a senior quarterback at Talawanda was I was going to show Coach Trump that I could do it because he really set me straight. And I miss him a lot, as he used to be my dad's neighbor out at his place. So thanks to Coach Trump. And finally, I want to recognize several teammates and previous inductees because, again, team is team and no individual has success without their teammates. And I have several here. Dave Churchmen. Dave Churchmen, who's a prior inductee, never played with him. He was before me. But he was, to me, when I came to Talawanda, he was the model to follow for being a successful quarterback and a successful athlete. And so I looked up his records, and it was like he held them all. And it was his prior success that motivated me to drive towards some of the records that Joe mentioned. Number 2, Tony Bradley. He was a halfback on our team, Tom and my team in 68. He was a point guard on the basketball team. To this day, Tony Bradley's in high school and college. Tony Bradley, the greatest athlete that I've ever seen at any level, and he inspired me by his work ethic and his just pure athletic ability. Stu Eversole. Because of Stu, I had to play defense for 3 years. It wasn't until Stu graduated a year ahead of me in class that I got the opportunity to play quarterback. But what I remember about Stu was he really was the consummate quarterback. His preparation during the week at practice, his game management skills, obviously during the games, I tried to model myself after that, and to a large degree, I think the lessons I learned from Stu on the field, in the locker room, in the film room, allowed me to have success after he graduated. And I want to thank Stu very much for that. Bill Swift, who I think was here last year and not here tonight, he was a senior when I was a freshman on the football team. What I remember about Bill was I was on the scout team. I was a freshman going against the first team, and Bill ran over me. I counted 18 times. I couldn't tackle him, and like a freight train, that was the hardest I ever got hit in high school or my college career. Bill was a bull in a china shop, and I wish he was here tonight. A couple more. Tom Hoskins, he was my class of 69. Tom was I have fond memories of him. He was the most athletic, he was the biggest, strongest, most athletic offensive and defensive tackle that I ever was a teammate, either high school or college. He was so mean on the field that you were thankful that he was on your team, not the other team. But off the field, he was a teddy bear. And his kindness and generosity that he shared with me while we were teammates, and he was a great shot putter and wrestler as well, I'll never forget. And it helped me learn how to treat people later in life. And then finally, I want to give credit to Greg Abel and to Tom York. Greg was inducted last year. You cannot have the kind of records that I had, that I set in 68 without good teammates, good receivers. And Tom and Greg were both excellent receivers, good speed, ran flawless routes, and they were just great teammates. And had it not been for them, I wouldn't have enjoyed the success that I did. And I never did thank you guys, and I wish Greg was here tonight. Thank you guys personally for what we did together. We talked about it a little bit earlier tonight, but thank you, Tom, and thank you, Greg. He's probably still doing his Forest Ranger stuff, and I'm envious of that. So to close, I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this wonderful evening, and I again want to express my congratulations to the other inductees. Thank you very much, and appreciate the time. Thanks.
Sometimes, after 20 years of doing this, 20 years, yes, 20 years, I wonder what brings people back from Florida, New Mexico, California, Texas, Florida. Why? And I wonder about that, and I think sports is something magically different. It's something that holds us together. It brings back times when we were younger, and it brings back an appreciation for the most important things in our lives. You've heard these people tonight talk about moms and dads, teamwork, and memories. It's something that we need more to focus on during times when it seems as though we're so easily led in other directions and we follow other kinds of voices. But this type of coming together is important. You make it important. You keep these folks young between the ears. And I'm glad. Thank you each for being here this evening to be a part of this program, because you make it important and you make it rewarding. Most of us here tonight don't remember the Hanover Big Blue, and later the Blue. And then in the late 1940s, the Eagles of Hanover. But the class of 1940-41 was known by all in the community, the county, and the state as the best basketball team in Hanover history. This was a team whose home record that year was 29 victories and no defeats. They were successful in winning the Butler County Tournament in Class B and brought home Hanover's first regional championship. The team went on to win the title of Southwestern Ohio District Champions, and that victory paved the way for Hanover to go to Columbus and compete for the state championship in Class B division. Hanover's bid at being best in the state fell short with their quarterfinal loss to state powerhouse Confield by the score of 48-43. The team's only loss that season. Ed Kinniger, the team's coach, was quoted as saying this was the best group of boys he ever coached. And keep in mind, this comment from a coach whose record while at Hanover was 127 wins and only 34 defeats. Today, only a park and a plaque mark the place where Hanover School once stood. But tonight, the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame recognizes those boys of blue for their outstanding athletic accomplishments. They had cheerleaders that year. Big thanks to people that maybe can hear me, at least in my heart, I hope they can. Cheerleaders, Earl Rice, Barbara Ann Rowlands, June Swithebest, Ray Mullinax, Malacote, Ray Malacote, Bill Gilbert, Carl Ulrich, Bert Ledford, Carlos Rawl, Harvey Clark, Ed Fowler, Bob Davis, Bob Martin, John Nickel, Jerry Welch, Howard Beisinger, Carl Vogel, and Coach Ed Seneger. Accepting the plaque this evening for the 1940-41 Hanover basketball team is former graduate, cheerleader, and alumni chair Gene Steele Derrickson.
Thank you, Joe. It's my pleasure and honor to represent the Hanover High School alumni. We want to thank those responsible for inducting the 1940-41 Hanover basketball team into the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame. The team's quarterfinal finish in the Ohio High School tournament earned them this distinction. That was quite an accomplishment in those days for a small school out in the country to have gone so far with their basketball. First of all, many thanks go out to all the founders of our Athletic Hall of Fame. I believe that the Hall of Fame actually solidified our consolidated district. Next, I need to offer thanks to Joyce Eaton Lyer. Is she here? Joyce, are you out there? Joyce nominated the team for the Hall of Fame and asked us to accept the award. And lastly but not least, thanks to the selection committee who made the choice. If the Hanover basketball team of 41 could come back, boy, wouldn't they be surprised. They'd be surprised to find that Hanover had joined forces with Oxford, Stewart, McGuffey, Milford, and Riley. I hope they know just how proud they made all of us at that time and know that they're still being remembered with pride, which never changes. When our Master of Ceremonies, Joe Pifrin, called to confirm my presence here tonight, he challenged me. He suggested that I do a cheer and talk about pride. Well, you know, there's no 87-year-old woman that spends much time practicing cheers. So, but I've got to call him on that challenge. So we've got to do two things. With very few words, here's my demonstration of pride, which he said he thought I would talk about pride. So talk about pride. Here's my 74-year-old sweater. Now, it's got a few moth holes in it. And I'm sure I couldn't get into it anymore. But I still can't get rid of it. I think that is a good symbol of pride. I'm still hanging on to it. Now, the other part of that challenge that I want to answer, I need your help. You know, I think with a simple little cheer, and if you all would promise to yell it real loud, I'll tell you what it is. If you promise to yell as loud, so loud that that 41 team, wherever they are, they could hear it. So I'd like you, could I call on you, Mr. Piper? He's going to stand, he said he would stand behind me. And then that's what, I think that we could do a simple cheer and everybody joins in. And wouldn't that be a good way to end my talk about? Okay. How about, listen, 2, 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate? Talawanda. Yay! Okay. See, can we do that? Can we do it? Can we do it? And just help me do this.
I'll help you.
Okay, you yell real loud.
Real loud.
So that the boys can hear it.
Sherry.
And if they hear it, they'll
Shelly.
know, you know, they'll know that we may have changed our name.
Wherever they are.
But we still have pride and we still have spirit.
We got it.
Are we ready?
I'm right behind you.
Okay. 2,
4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate?
Thank you very much, and congratulations to all the other inductees. It's been fun.
Not to embarrass, but I was lying in bed, 7 o'clock in the morning, Sunday. You know who calls you at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday? Nobody. And I answered it. I don't know why. And it was someone who shall remain anonymous, who said, "Joe, what do you think about this?" And it was good. God bless her. Our next inductee is a 1986 graduate of Talawanda High School, Shelly Simon. She earned 8 varsity letters participating in cross country and track and field. This Talawanda record holder was described by Hall of Fame coach Dale Plank, and I quote, as the cornerstone of the cross country and track teams. She was a leader whose hard work and determination not only sparked the team, but also created an attraction for other female runners to become part of the sport. Shelly, he said, was a constant source of encouragement who challenged everyone to be their best. In cross country, Shelly was a 2-time Mid-Miami League champion. In her sophomore, junior, and senior seasons, Shelly earned all district honors and went on those same years to be a state qualifier in cross country. She received all-state recognition in 1985 as part of a team that finished 7th in the state of Ohio in cross-country championships. In track, Shelly was a 2-time Mid-Miami League champion in the mile run, a 2-time state qualifier, and earned all-state honors as a member of the Talawanda High School record-holding 4x800 relay team. After graduation from Talawanda, Shelly went on to attend Bucknell University and graduated magna cum laude. Shelly then attended Stanford University, where she earned her master's degree in communication. Shelly's worked in journalism, public relations, and as a Spanish teacher. Today, Shelly and her husband Paul reside in Newport News, Virginia. And tonight, because of your dedication, your determination to athletic excellence, we welcome you into the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame, Shelly Simon.
Thank you so much to the Hall of Fame committee. This is really the first time that I feel like I've been back at Talawanda, and I think this is a great program to kind of bring us back and remind us about our wonderful high school years here. I want to thank my family who's here today. My father, George Simons, was always there on the sidelines cheering me on. When I came around that last bend of the race, he was always there cheering me on. My mother, Mickey Simons, and my sister, Dawn Simons Ramirez, is here tonight. As are many of my former teachers are in the audience, and former coaches. I saw Coach Mel Edwards is here, and Coach Chuck Jones, who are such an important part of just that warm Talawanda faculty that always made you feel part of the family. And that's really, I think, the most important part of school is having a family, having a place where you feel good about yourself and where you want to come every day. And I think Talawanda really gave that to me. I think behind every great team, there is a great coach. And that great coach for me was Coach Dale Plank. And I'm so glad that he's here with us this evening. Not only was he encouraging and caring, but he always made cross-country practice fun. I remember we looked forward to our themed runs. And we had the ice cream run, which was awesome, going uptown to Baskin-Robbins. We had the 4-square-mile run around the city of Oxford. And then we had some runs that I don't think were sanctioned by Coach Plank. We probably instigated by Chris Webb. We had the creek run. That, looking back on it, was pretty dangerous to be running through the creek. We had the sprinkler run. So if you lived in one of our greener subdivisions, you may have recalled a team running across your lawn through your sprinkler. That was us. And by the time I was a senior, there was actually the 6340 Brown Road run where we ran out to my house and jumped in the pool afterwards. That was a really good one. But I would often run with the boys' team to push myself, is what I told everyone. But the truth is, I really wanted to run with the guys because you guys were my friends. And CD and Chris Webb and all the members of the boys' team just made it fun. And you guys were welcoming to everyone, and you really were the glue that brought everyone together, I would say, for the girls' team and also for the boys' team. And now that I'm an adult, I really look for people like that in my life. I look for people who make you feel good about yourself and bring you together as a team. And that's really what I think Chris Webb and C.D. Butcher managed to do. For this ceremony, I had to go through my scrapbook and look at all of my photos. And I was really struck by how happy we were and how kind we were to each other on the team. You know, if you wanted to wear a trench coat over your uniform, that was fine with us. If you wanted to never wash your hair, like some of our cross-country team members, that was fine too. I think we were really very accepting of one another. And overall, that's something I think is great about public schools. You end up together and you come from all walks of life and you learn about other people's family backgrounds. And I'm still a real advocate for public schools. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Now I live in Newport News, Virginia. I moved there with my husband, who works for NASA Langley. And I spent some years as a Spanish teacher, but then I was asked to run for our school board. So I ran for school board in Newport News, which accidentally put me in the middle of politics. And I ended up working on other people's campaigns and being at events with the governor and having a chance to make a difference for education policy in the state of Virginia. And I have been hooked on politics ever since. And I ran for the House of Delegates in 2017. And on election night, I was behind by about 10 votes. And so I asked for a recount. And so we had the recount, and I won. I won by 1 vote. And I went on to MSNBC and CNN, and I was glowing with happiness that I had won my race for the Virginia House of Delegates by 1 vote. But then it all fell apart, and the judges intervened, gave a vote to my opponent. So then it was a tie. I don't know if you guys heard about this crazy tied election in Virginia. That was me. And in the end, they decided to draw a name out of a bowl to see who would win. But I think I've learned a lot about politics from my career in cross country. I've really learned that politics is a long game. It's a long, hard road. You've got to have the perseverance. You've got to knock on the doors. You've got to slowly meet more and more people in your community. And so that's what I'm doing. I am still building momentum for my political career. The other thing that I learned from cross country is that when you're on a team, it's not about you. It's about the team winning and losing, not about you personally winning and losing. And I think the example for me from my cross-country years was my freshman, sophomore year, I was winning a lot, but my team wasn't winning. And it wasn't until my senior year when the 4th runner was winning and the 5th runner on the team was winning that the whole team started to win the state championships. And I'm very proud that the 4x800 relay that I was on is still a record here at Talawanda High School. And I think it's the same with politics. When I had the tied election and I was interviewed on CNN, they kept asking how I felt and how I was doing. And I kept saying, it's not about me, it's about us. It's about our community having good representation. And I tried to talk about issues that I felt were really important for my community and remind them at the time in Virginia, healthcare was really on the line. We hadn't done the Medicaid expansion yet. And so I continued to talk about that. And although my name was not drawn out of that bowl for the drawing of lots, and I did not win that election, we did talk about Medicaid expansion, and we did get it passed in Virginia. So I did a little bit to help Virginia improve access to medical treatment in Virginia, and I'm very happy about that. And I just wanted to finish by letting everyone know that I am buying a new pair of running shoes because I will be a candidate for the Virginia House of Delegates again in 2019. And I've just really enjoyed being here with you. I just had Coach Jones tell me that I was persistent when I was in high school. And I think I'm still persistent, and I still see that long, winding road ahead of me that I'm going to run and I'm going to finish. And I know it's not just about me finishing first, it's about making progress. So Thank you so much to the committee, and congratulations to my fellow inductees, and I hope everybody has a wonderful evening.
Our final inductee this evening is a 1958 graduate, Talawanda High School. Bill Winkler's outstanding high school athletic career began at Hanover School. This school record holder played on winning volleyball teams, league championship basketball and football teams, but is best remembered as the Butler County phenomenon in cross country. More cross country. Good night for cross country. As a first-time competitor in cross country, his freshman year at Hanover, Bill finished third in the Butler County Championship meet. As a sophomore, Bill finished first and led Hanover to its 5th straight Butler County Cross Country Championship. Bill went on to finish in 8th place in the district meet, received a gold medal, and qualified for the State of Ohio Championship meet. As a junior at Talawanda High School, Bill finished in 1st place in the Butler County Championships and set the course high school record at Miami University. In his senior year, Bill placed first again in Butler County while breaking the individual county record set in 1949. He helped Talawanda compile a perfect score of 15 points to become the first team in the history of the event to place finishers in the first 5 positions. Bill holds the distinction of winning the very first athletic trophy in cross country for Talawanda High School. Bill also holds the distinction of achieving all these cross country accomplishments while running barefoot in all levels of competition, at all courses, and in all weather conditions. Tonight, the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame is proud of your accomplishments and welcomes you to join your brother and daughter as a member of the Athletic Hall of Fame. Speaking for Bill this evening, daughter Kim. Bill Winkler.
Oh, cross country, that is such a bad word. I know every year before basketball season, Dad would beg me, you need to run cross country, get in shape for basketball. I was not that runner. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to all the inductees tonight, especially my dad. Proud of you. I'm Kim Winkler. I'm accepting this award tonight on behalf of my dad, Bill Winkler. Yes, I am a prior Hall of Famer, and it is such an honor for me to have my dad join me as a Hall of Famer. And now I have a dad, I have an uncle that everybody knows as Duke Winkler, so we're making it a family event. Dad always loved sports. He did all kinds of sports. He enjoyed and loved coaching Little League baseball. I can remember going to baseball games as a little girl, watching my brother play and Dad coaching, cousins. And then he started to really love coaching basketball. He would take me on weekends. We'd sneak into Withrow Court on the weekends, and we would play and play and play and play and play. And then I went to college. Dad was still coaching from those stands. You could hear him holler all over that gym. And then as I graduated from college, came back to Talawanda, started teaching, started coaching at Talawanda. Dad still loved coaching. I'll never forget, I don't think I ever called a timeout that was my idea. And Dad still enjoys coaching today. From his recliner. He'll scream at that TV. Dad also he loved hunting. And I think that's where I got my love of dogs from. He was an avid golfer and a very good golfer. We spent many summer going to the golf courses and playing together. And I do have to say that my athletic achievements and my athletic ability, I owe all to my dad. He taught me everything I know and gave me all the guidance that I needed and the skills that I needed to succeed. So my speech is going to be short and sweet. So again, congratulations, Dad, all the inductees, and welcome to the Talawanda Hall of Fame.
I shared with all of you earlier that I tried not to embarrass my wife. But, Bill, I got to tell you this, as she helped me with all of these presentations and saying the right words, and we came to yours. And Angela, that's her name, Angela. She said, "My God, he did all this in his bare feet?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I hope he stays around later on after we're finished." She says, "I just want to look at his feet." So if some strange lady comes up to you and starts ripping off your shoes, you know it's my wife. As long as that's all there is. You know, I didn't realize this till tonight. I was sitting back there. You all look good from the back, by the way. There were four cross-country people. That's a lot. That's a lot for especially a group this size. And it made me think, cross-country, I used to get asked, you know, what's the toughest sport to be involved in? And I'll be honest, I used to say, and I still do, wrestling, because it's so individual, mano, whatever. And cross-country, because you're out there. What is it, 3.1 miles? People who run cross-country don't even know this. It's 3.1 miles. You're out there by yourself in the woods, barefoot sometimes. Nobody to cheer you. It's got to come from here and from here. And that takes, my gosh, the determination, the fortitude, all of those things by yourself. There was a I got to tell you, the little lady, 86-year-old lady, lived 2 houses away. She lived alone. And I knew her, and then I go over there once in a while, keep her company, say hi, and she'd say, "Joe, I want to do something. I just don't want to sit around and do nothing. What's the best exercise?" Hey, I thought walking. She needs to walk. And by golly, that lady started. She'd walk from the house to the road and back again. For her, that was a lot. And this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And after a few weeks, she walked to the end of the block and back. God, she was looking better, feeling better, everything. And then she'd walk all the way around the block and come back. She was feeling great after months. She got up to 2 miles a day. That was 2 years ago. We don't know where in the hell she is. but we know she's in good shape. She left with her shoes, Bill. Thanks for being here this evening. You've added to the pride of Talawanda just by your presence. In closing this evening, the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame has become richer and prouder because of your abilities, your accomplishments, your contributions. Athletes of today and tomorrow will look upon you as the supporting pillars of the tradition of the sporting excellence we call Talawanda. Tonight, because of you, the legacy lives on. And now, we end this evening with the words all of you have heard many times before. As the years roll on into eternity, there are memories we won't forget. Newest members of the Talawanda Athletic Hall of Fame, we say to each of you, thanks. Thanks for the memories. Let's hear it for all of them.